Hi, here we're looking at London Calling by The Clash, and the piece features what you could either regard as an eighth note triplet feel or an up-tempo 12/8 feel. And we've got this 4 on the floor pattern that starts us off. So if we're thinking 12/8, we're playing dotted quarter notes on the bass drum and the hi-hat simultaneously, like this. Next, we're going to introduce the low tom part. So we've got 2 notes. Thinking in 12/8, these are going to land on the last 2 16th notes of the bar. We could, of course, play those 2 notes on a single floor tom. I've just spread it between the 2 to get a thicker sound. So that intro section finishes with a bar of 8th notes played on the snare. At which point we reach the chorus, which is split into 2 halves, 2 8-bar sections. This first half, we're playing all of the 8th notes on the hi-hat. And this is pretty fast, so it's really quite a workout for these first 8 bars. I'll take it from the snare drum fill. Now, you could be forgiven for wanting to play that a different way, perhaps using alternating single strokes, which you could lead with either hand. If I was playing that, I would lead with my right so that I'm hitting the backbeat with this hand. But that single-handed approach is actually the way that it was played originally. So then, after 8 bars, we transition to a slightly different feel with a more traditional shuffle-sounding pattern. So I'll do a few bars of the first half into the second half. At this point, we reach the 9-bar bridge, most of which is made up of this 2-bar pattern, where we're crashing or playing the open hi-hats on the 3rd 8th note, thinking in 12/8, of beats 2, every other bar. So it's first a crash, then a hi-hat. So once that verse bridge cycle has gone round again, we then reach the 8-bar breakdown section, where we're crashing the downbeat of each bar, and occasionally we've got some 16th notes on the snare drum before those crashes, which interestingly are played with a straight feel, as opposed to the way we played the tom hits earlier in the piece. I'll play that section in its entirety first, and then we'll break down a couple of the elements. So halfway through that section, we've got this figure that features some flams moved from the snare and down the kit. On the original, it sounds like there's a delay effect to maintain that 8th note feel, and which I've just emulated by keeping the 8th notes moving on the low toms. So that figure in isolation is this. And then just before the end of that section, before we've got the double stop build up out of it, we've got 3 drags played on the snare based around a quarter note triplet. And we can feel that by perhaps starting with playing all of the 8th notes, again thinking in 12/8, so they're going to be 8th notes, accenting your right, ghosting the left. And then if we double all of your left hand notes, you'll get a drag, quite an open drag admittedly, but I'll move between playing that as singles and then doubling it. And so, in context, it would sound like this. At that point, we reach the 8-bar guitar solo, which features the same shuffle type feel that we had in the second half of the verses. And then we play another bridge, which ultimately takes us back to the intro. And so after the 4 bars of that intro feel, we introduce the low tom part again, the same as we did the first time around. And after 8 bars of that, we hit the 8-bar outro feel, which resumes that 8th note pattern that was featured during the first half of each verse, and concludes with the 8th notes moving down the kit until into the final crash. So here are the last 4 bars.